guys, so I wanted to do a quick video on elastics, wrap materials. I know that there's a lot of people out there wondering, what's the pluses and minuses between, let's say, the strangulators and the chokers. What are you going to get out of them, how they're made, how they're going to feel without actually buying them and giving them a go in the gym. So I have Brandon Franklin here with me, 2,000 pound total plus, and he is going to be my expert here. I'm going to talk about the construction and how these things are actually made, while Brandon is going to kind of give you guys a rundown on what to expect out of them when using them. So let's start, Brandon, with the red lines. So the red lines are going to be the thinnest wrap, right? They're going to be they're going to be the most stretchy. They're going to be really geared for somebody that's just really new into wraps.
Yeah, they're going to be a very simple wrap, old schoolish, ace banded style, if you will, like back in the 80s and 90s. They're very simple. They're going to be very easy to put on yourself if you're a self-wrapper. Let's think bodybuilding here. Very minimal support, but good warmth around the knees. And you're going to get plenty of revolutions out of them, but you're not going to get as much support. But they're very good for a beginner.
And that'll be the red line was based off of what everybody used to have. We've had these wraps forever. Yeah. So that'll be a good segue into the blue line, which we call on our website the Blue Defender. That wrap is going to be a touch thicker, actual material-wise is a little bit thicker. The elastic inside it, the rubber, so all of these things are made with cotton and rubber. That's how you get the elasticity of the actual wrap itself. The blue lines are going to be a little bit thicker. The elastic inside, the rubber inside is going to be a little bit stronger. So what can you expect out of a little bit stronger elastic than the red line?
So basically moving on our step up from the red line, as Matt said, they're already going to be thicker. So that means they're going to be stiffer right out the gate. Not very much, but it's definitely going to offer a lot more support. You're going to definitely start gaining an advantage once you move up to this next step of wrap. There's going to still be very similar stretch to them, but the material's thicker. It's going to be a lot more support. You're still going to get the same effect on the rebound, just a little bit more stopping power overall. But you're going to definitely focus on the rebound from these wraps, and they're still going to be pretty comfortable because that's what you're going to get out of the red line. So these are still soft. The material is very nice. So it's definitely still a good beginner wrap, but you're definitely moving up in the ranks with these if you want something still on the comfortable side and still getting a good amount of revolutions out of them with a little bit more stopping power.
So after the blue defenders, the blue lines, we would go next to what we call the enforcers, which is going to be the red and blue lines. So you're not going to feel much difference, Brandon, I don't think, or anybody that buys these. You're not going to feel much difference in these versus the blue lines. We had a customer of ours, a wholesale customer of ours, that wanted to bring in some red, white, and blue. They didn't want the white, obviously, because they got dirty and nasty with sweat. Right. But these wraps and the blue defender wraps are going to be extremely similar in feel, thickness, and elasticity.
Yeah. Yeah, basically you're going to get the same wrap, just a little bit different of a design, colorway.
Yeah. So if you're looking at something that actually isn't a cast wrap, you're going to get plenty of rebound. It's going to be much more comfortable and easy to self-wrap. Either one of the blue line or the enforcers are going to give you that. The next step up, we're going to go in steps of elasticity and strength of the actual wrap, would be the Guardians or the old school, if you will, from APT. That's going to be the old Black Mambas. The Black Mambas with Allen was a huge seller. It was actually one of our best-selling items. So it's going to be kind of your midway as far as elasticity goes. So from this one, you're going to jump into the Lily Bridge wrap, but this one is going to be a lot stretchier and a little bit thinner than the Lily Bridge. It is going to be a lot less stretchy than your red line, blue line, or your enforcers.
First thing right out the gate, you're going to notice they're a lot more stiff, so you're going to definitely get a lot more stopping power. You can definitely tell they were a more advanced wrap, especially earlier on when they first come out. Like you said, they're an original APT wrap. So So I definitely like them. You know you're going to get a little more advancement out of them compared to the other wraps we were demonstrating. And not as much stretch. You're going to definitely have to torque on them a little bit harder just to get the revolutions in comparison to the other three we just showed.
The next wrap, I think, on a stretchability scale is going to be your Lily Bridge wrap.
Absolutely.
This is going to be, there's going to be a significant jump in support, in rubber strength, elasticity. As far as feel goes, the Lily Bridge wraps are still soft in comparison to the next few. But the Lily Bridge wraps, they were designed by Ernie Jr., Ernie Sr., and Eric Lillibridge to be, because they work with caliber of lifters from all-time world record holders to novice and beginners. They wanted an all-purpose wrap that you can put on anybody if it's wrapped effectively to help support in a squat, also as wrist wraps. But this material, Brandon is well aware of, stronger, right?
Yes.
And thicker and thicker.
The material's amazing on the Lily Bridge wraps. It definitely set a new example of how a good wrap can be. You can throw me a pair. So there's so many things great about this wrap. For one, it's made in America, and the Lily Bridges approve of it. So you can't beat those two straight out the gate. So the first thing I noticed about these, there's definitely some stiffness to them, but the soft texture on these, they're going to be a lot more comfortable. They're definitely going to fit in with the wraps we showed for beginner wraps. So that means competitors that are starting out in the 200-300 pound range, they're going to be great for. They're going to go all the way up to people squatting into the 1,000 pound range, shown by Eric Lillibridge himself multiple times.
Yeah,
so
you've got a couple of strongmen just recently, since this video is being made. You had two of the three strongest men in the world with Thor.
Yeah. Yeah, but they're both two.
And two out of the top three world's strongest men squatted
They chose
in these.
these wraps. And I believe they both squatted 750 pounds in the higher 8 to 10 rep range. Hang on, 1 second. One thing I want to show in these wraps that is very different than most is that it has a shoestring hole to loop through to be able to pull through a very tight wrap job. It's very effective. It's an old school technique that people have used for a long time, but now it has a hole to loop through that shoestring with so it don't get in the way, and it can be there waiting for you to pull the last revolution through right before you get up and go on the platform.
Yeah. So next wrap on a stretchability scale is going to be the Phantoms. The Phantoms have been around for a couple of years now. The Phantoms, whenever I started, I actually set out to try to make the stiffest and most aggressive wrap on the market. It was kind of like the Titan Signature Golds had like a demon child. We made them a little bit thicker and a little bit more stretchy. The thing about the Phantoms that we made, the rubber inside the actual elastic is stronger. It's one of the strongest, if not the strongest of any of these for sure, outside of maybe the chokers, which we'll get to in just a second. It'll be the next one. So the thing you're going to feel most on these is how stiff, how abrasive the actual material is. Now, don't let that be a turnoff, because if you're going for support, it's not going to be comfortable on any of these next wraps, starting with this one. Very uncomfortable, yet extremely supportive. So, but Brandon will be able to...
They're definitely not for the faint of heart.
Yeah.
To be honest with you, these were my favorite wraps for years. Matt gave me a pair at the Arnold in 2016, I believe.
Yep.
It was very early on. And to be honest with you, I threw them in my gym bag for about 2 months because I was addicted to another pair of wraps from Elite FGS, which was the super heavies. They were insane. So I decided, what the hell, I'm going to throw these on. I said, he gave them to me for free. It was a very nice gesture. I just didn't know. I was addicted to the belts, but, you know, I'd never used anything outside of his belts. I threw these on. I ain't going to lie. These babies were fucking beautiful. So you have these, as you could tell, they're not going very far. They're not very comfortable, but they will give you ultimate support. It's amazing. These things, I mean, they're hard to be beat. I mean, it's
So as far as build process goes, obviously it doesn't change. The only thing that changes is the amount of material used. All of these wraps are going to have cotton woven in and rubber woven into it. Colorway, we got really popular into the all black belts.
Yeah.
I wanted to keep our, and I called them the phantom belts. I deemed them the phantom belts. Well, we went black and dark gray with those, is where the color scheme came in. Most of these wraps, as you can tell, they all have stripes. A lot of that has to do with placement on the wrap itself when you're actually wrapping a knee or your wrist. So if anybody was wondering about that, I don't know if there was anybody, but that's the reason.
Well, I mean, there's designs you can make them different, but it definitely helps with especially judging.
Yeah,
I think it helps with that.
Cue,
yeah, absolutely.
Where to put the next revolution. The next wrap after the phantoms is going to go over to the choker wraps. The choker wraps were designed by Brandon. We kind of used the phantom as the base. From there, we went with a little bit less stretch, which actually gives probably even a little bit more support. Definitely more stopping power than the phantoms. Thickness and build process is very similar to the phantoms.
Absolutely. So Matt gave me the opportunity to design these myself. So my goal was to not do any worse than the phantoms. I knew it would be very hard to outdo them. Basically, if someone says they like them better than the phantoms, it's probably because of just the way they're made, the type of squatter they are. So in my opinion, they're neck and neck in their own ways. Like Matt said, there's a little bit less stretch with the chokers. Mm-hmm. Is that correct? So
I think that's about 10%, maybe 10 to 15%.
So basically, it opened up a door for me to open my creative mind as an athlete to basically design them how I wanted them, and with the colorway and the logo, it just makes them a little bit different than most on the market, not necessarily just the wrap elasticity itself and the strength, which I did try to compare what in my opinion, was the best wrap on the market of all time, which is the Phantoms. And it allows with a different colorway and design for people that like to express themselves as well, like I do.
Yeah, so I gave him shit about the color. I was like, why in the world would you put purple on there? Brandon then educated me that was like the color of the year.
It was the color of the year.
Right?
So actually, and purple was actually a favorite color of mine, but
eggplant.
Yeah. But it's a favorite color of mine. And I looked up to it. I wanted something that could sell, but it still be out there. And I knew it wasn't going to be black or dark gray, so I looked up what the most popular bought color was the previous year. And it just so happened to be this color right here.
I think we need to plug Frank at Lift Evil for the design too, because the design of the actual logo itself is very cool in comparison to most.
And to be honest with you, I wanted to do something that commemorated Matt for letting me do this, because not many people get this opportunity. So God bless Matt, but Matt actually was the one to come up with this idea. Spur of the moment, we was at the tribute meet last year, thinking of an idea, and I said, I want to do something that expresses Pioneer and me. So we chose the peach and Texas rattlesnake, and it was actually his idea.
Yeah,
so.
The chokers. I think the name probably.
Well, the chokers name I come up with. He actually fought me on that name.
Yeah.
But that was before we decided that I would actually sell them myself. So.
Right. No, that wrap has been good to Brandon, and it's only available, which we'll tag below, through RPE 10. That's not available on Pioneer's website. So this is Brandon's baby. We're lucky enough to make them for him. So the next wrap on the stretch scale is going to be the Strangulator / Silver Beast.
Absolutely.
So that elastic, as far as just picking it up and looking at it and feeling it, it's going to feel very similar to the Phantoms, to the chokers, to the Commanders, which we'll get to in just a minute. This wrap has a considerable less amount of stretch than either the Phantoms or the chokers. This wrap is geared for stopping power and rebound full force. It's extremely, extremely tough. The rubber is... It's nearly unbreakable. I mean, there's a lot of wraps, so I say unbreakable. You've seen wraps where after they've been used and you lay them out and it looks like wavy bacon. That's when your rubber is actually broken and your wraps are wearing out. These wraps, the rubber inside of them are extremely strong, which is a good thing if you don't want to have kids and if you want a strong wrap. Number 4.
I mean, it's a very old school wrap. Everybody's heard of the strangulators. So,
Yeah, as seen on Andrei Milinichev.
Absolutely.
Most famous.
so I think that's the reason you come back with them, right? Andre's a big fan.
Well, the way they sold through APT, they went away for about a year and a half.
Yep.
People asked me, there were more people that asked me if we still sold them than they ever actually bought them. So when
Yeah.
we ran out of material, we were like, oh, we're not selling them very much, so we'll let them go. Well, lo and behold, once they were gone, everybody wanted them again, so we brought them back. The exact same as they were whenever we made them for APT.
It's a very good wrap. There's not very much stretch. It's going to be a very hard wrap to self-wrap yourself unless you're very experienced.
Yeah.
But I do recommend everyone should have these classic wraps in their arsenal just because they're beautiful for one thing. They're strong as shit. And I don't know if I could be used on YouTube, but they are very strong. So they're going to be a lot of stopping power. You want to get these babies on tight. It's going to make them very effective. The rebound isn't going to be there, but you're going to get so much stopping power, the rebound isn't going to matter anymore. They're going to be great.
Last but not least, and the least amount of elasticity in a wrap is going to be what we call the Commanders. They are the old school convicts from APT. Same material. We were the ones that made them. I think he brought them in from somebody else early on when he was making, but we made them for about 7 years or so. This wrap, very similar feel, very similar texture to the Silver Beasts strangulators. This wrap just has about 20% less stretch. So I think overall that wrap only has about, I think 70% stretch. So not much at all. It
There's
gets on
not
there.
much.
It gets on there, and it's you're not going to be able to bend your knee very much.
Absolutely. There's not much stretch at all. In comparison, they may be a little bit thinner, but they are just as stiff with less stretch.
Yeah.
So if you like the colorway a little bit better and maybe a little bit more stopping power, these may be a good choice. But you're not going to go wrong with either one of them.
Yeah. So I will once we get this thing uploaded, I'll try to make a visual representation of the percentage of stretch on these wraps. I'll also try to do some dims and get you guys thicknesses. They're all right at 3 inches. I think it's in centimeters, which I think it's like 8 centimeters or something like that. But it's about 3 inches wide, which is all legal. Thickness-wise, they vary depending on how much cotton is actually in the wrap, and stretch all varies from wrap to wrap. So if anybody actually wants technical specs, we'll be able to just fast forward to the end of the video. We'll get you a visual on everything of that nature. So we appreciate you watching. Hopefully you learned something. If you guys have any questions, y'all know what to do there. So
Just slide those DMs.